All right, folks, we're back. We've got just a quick interview here because you've got to run. It's Melissa Lamson from Lamson Consulting, LLC. But we wanted to continue the conversation. It's been kind of a theme today, talking about gender balance and equality and diversity and improving our events through these things. So we wanted to kind of come back to that conversation a little bit. Unfortunately, we have unbalanced the panel in doing so. Lindsay was supposed to be helping us out, but she got pulled into some other things, and so Will has kindly stepped in to agree. So thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure. Well, with three of us, it's hard to have balance.
Yes,
exactly.
In any way, shape, or form.
Which is kind of an interesting point, because I guess with meeting planners, it's predominantly, there's a lot more women, I guess, than men in the industry, right? I mean, I think Lindsay was saying it was maybe 80% women, but that a lot of the clients that they're interacting with and corporate stakeholders are primarily men. So it's kind of fascinating when you have that interaction, I guess, in terms of just what are differences in communication, and how does that reflect the gender balance within the organization of the customer, and it's just fascinating to hear a few tips on that.
What do you think are some tactical tips that people can do to make sure that things are staying balanced?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I just rolled off of a project with a tech company where we were doing workshops called Networking and Advancement Strategies specifically for women, and then Being an Ally to Women for men. And with those two programs, we were able to get more women into management positions, which was the goal at the company. So they were shooting for 30%. We actually got to 37% from 22 when we started. So it was a 3-year project, and yeah, it was really great. So I think implementing courses, coaching, being able to just have, and I should say with those courses, there's no PowerPoint, it's all dialogue. So we're just really having conversations about what is it like to work with women? What is it like to work with men? How do you feel about interacting with each other? What prevents you from promoting someone? What prevents you from being effective with the other gender, right? And that having those kinds of conversations are just really straightforward, and I think that's helpful.
That was one of the things that came up in one of the earlier interviews, was even including myself, how do we talk about these things? How do we be an ally without also being like, I'm Superman coming to the, that kind, coming to the rescue,
Sure.
because that's obviously not where we're wanting to go with these things. And that, that conversation was in the context of harassment, especially in a client-vendor relationship, where we're both on the client side. That's even adding an extra layer of complexity and power dynamics and things like that. Not even including just talking about how do we advance people in our own industry and continue to keep our own industry balanced. Because you had brought up, while 80% of our industry is women, especially in management roles, though, we're still seeing a gender imbalance when it comes to more men being in management roles.
Oh, in your industry?
Within the events industry itself. So do you have any tips or techniques to kind of help overcome some of that, where the industry itself is a majority women, but we're still seeing this kind of strange power imbalance?
Oh, in terms of like maybe getting more women into leadership roles.
Helping and supporting and moving people into leadership roles.
Right, or more gender balance.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think to just operate with some intention can be useful. So if you set some sort of a goal, I mean, I know there's mixed feelings around the idea of quotas, but people resonate with that. If they know they have some kind of a goal that they're headed towards, then it can just help sort of push it along a little bit more tactically. But I think definitely just sort of unraveling some of the, I would say, myths around what does it mean to take a leadership role. I know that in some cases with women, they're really concerned because we're sort of perfectionism and all this hard work, and our performance is sort of number one for us, is kind of bred into us, right? And so we get nervous that if we have this leadership position that we're about to take, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much more work, and we're going to have so much more responsibility, and what does that mean for work-life balance? What does that mean for even the fun part of my job that I was doing before I took the leadership role? And what I try to help women understand is it's really just prioritizing, right? And it's a difference. It's working smarter, not necessarily working more. And for whatever reason, men tend to get that. I mean, I don't mean to generalize, but for whatever reason, men tend to get that more, and they're more comfortable letting things go or delegating or just saying, hey, could someone else take this on, because now my role is to do this, right, in this leadership capacity. So they're just not quite as nervous about taking that risk, or maybe they are, but they don't show it, right, because they just say, hey, we'll just go for it and we'll make it work somehow. Which just tends to be a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, generalizing, that's definitely the observations as well, is that men tend to be like, I will figure it out.
That's
And,
right.
you know, yeah, sure, we can do that. Yeah, no problem. I got that. Yeah, that kind of
That's definitely my lifestyle for sure.
Well, yeah, right. And I mean, having said that, I mean, more women are starting companies, so you have even 3 times as many female entrepreneurs as men. So it's certainly not that women won't take risks, but I think it's a question of how prepared do we feel for that risk, and how much support do we have for taking that risk? And we need a little bit more of that in order to make it happen.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
I'm curious, you know, you've mentioned things that are all kind of surrounding communication in one way or another. Do you feel that that's one of the best kind of venues for this, is in dealing with how we communicate with each other?
Yes. I find that probably 80 to 90% of the misunderstandings, conflict, even I would go so far as to say some of the things that happen within the #MeToo movement, are really communication based. I mean, whether it's something like not making eye contact, or it's something like interrupting someone else, or just getting emotional or upset over something, right? I mean, on both sides, men and women. And all of that can just be misconstrued or misinterpreted based on the person's experience, right? And so then there's all these hurt feelings, and then maybe possibly no discussion about it, and it really wasn't intentional. And sometimes when I talk to men in the being an ally to women workshop, you know, they'll say, "Gosh, I had no idea. I didn't even notice I was interrupting," right? Or women will say, "Wow, I didn't. You know, when I get emotional, I don't mean to freak men out. You know, it's just that I've been kind of trained that when I get frustrated, tears come into my eyes, and I'm just upset. You know, I'm angry." And I don't express it as anger as much as it comes across more as sadness, right? And so these kinds of differences are just, I think, are communication based. And I think if we can, you know, just create understanding around those, then we certainly would reduce the amount of hurt or pain or even escalation that some of this happens, right?
Sometimes it's just a matter of knowing.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I was
like
gonna say,
right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing actually. Yeah, I think just being aware of what's going on is so important, and you
That's
know,
right.
I think that, like you said, it's once you have the awareness, then you communicate, and I think the world would be a better place, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we've gotten so politically correct in the way we communicate with each other, right? So it's just so hard for me to say, like, "Oh, you know, this is like hurting me," or "This, why did you do that?" or what did you mean by this? And so we just sort of dance really delicately around each other instead of get really honest in conversations. And I'm just happy that I can provide a venue for the honest discussions.
So it's an advantage for this show that I've got, you know, the deep voice thing going on, but something that I've had to
Yeah.
work on for my whole career
Yeah.
is that sometimes that comes off as dad voice.
Ah,
And so, especially when
interesting.
dealing with women, I've been told by women, just so you know, you're really coming off paternal, like.
wow.
And I'm not meaning to, like, I'm just trying to be very specific about something
Sure.
that I want to make very clear.
Yes.
And it comes off as that, like, dad voice. And so I
interesting.
intentionally have to kind of soften my voice, not because I'm wanting to be softer or I'm worried about offending someone, but it's that almost subliminal, like, tone of voice that I'm not intending to put in, but it gets put in by accident.
I love that,
Yeah.
that you're, you know, conscious of that and trying to, you know, mediate it or moderate it. Yeah.
And in similar way too, as well as like I've been known to interrupt people. I think mainly because I talk fast. My brain's thinking so quick. I'm ready to.
It's an excitement factor.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
super
yeah.
exciting, and I've been
Yeah.
told
Yeah.
many times that like,
Yeah.
hey, sometimes you're interrupting, and you know things like that. When reality, I think just now being told that makes me aware of it. That now sometimes I will purposely calm down.
Yes.
Now, we know you have to run, so we
Yes.
want to be respectful. You're actually going to go speak now at one of the
Yes.
sessions.
Yes.
But we really want to thank you so much for joining us.
Oh,
What have
thank
we
you.
forgotten to ask you?
I appreciate
Use this
it.
last moment. So what did we forget to ask you?
Well, we've talked about
All
so many
right.
different things.
Well, thank you so much. No,
yeah, practice
appreciate it.
diversity and inclusion.
Wonderful. So, yeah, practice
make
diversity.
it an effort in your
Well, and just have those
organization.
open conversations and be willing to put
Yeah.
yourself out there a little bit and maybe a little vulnerable
That's
to say,
right.
look, this is how this is making me feel.
That's
and,
right.
and then I know. And then, you know, or this is how it's making me feel. And now you know, and having
Yeah.
those open conversations. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for
I
joining us.
appreciate it. Thanks
If
for
people
having
want
me.
to follow you, is there any website or anything like that? you'd
Yeah,
like to promote?
lamsonconsulting.com or at Melissa_Lamson1 in Twitter. I was an early Twitter adopter and didn't get a very nice handle, but at Melissa_Lamson1.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for joining
Okay,
us. And
take
we'll
care.
have some more interviews shortly.